could add to that, other than when Bill and I were on a journey for our deaconess home missioner, we also could see that there was a kitchen that was built to be serving the community. It was ready to go for commercialization, but it hadn't been commercialized yet. So when we came along to the church, I thought, well, let's license this, and we'll do soup Sundays, and we'll try our best to educate our congregation on food insecurity in Leelanau County, which is, when you're in Leland, really difficult to imagine. And that was a bit of a slow go, but because of my relationship doing an art program with Central, I was able to have some trust with quite a few of the people that came. And when COVID hit, one of the gals, Melissa West, called me and said, "You have got to do something. The meal sites are shutting down. People are hungry." So my friend Peggy and I started cooking food and delivering it in boxes to Melissa, and she would distribute out after that. Meanwhile, Bill was still working. And we just thought we were responding to something that was, we were just going to cook some meals and deliver them, and we'll go back to focusing on our idea of having meals at the church. Well, that did not slow down by any means. We got a phone call a few weeks later from Jane Lippert, who runs the scheduling for all the meal sites, and asked if we were serving at Veterans Park by any chance. And we admitted that we were, and we're a little afraid that maybe we were doing something wrong. But what we were doing is just kind of skewing the numbers a little bit. So they wanted us to determine whether we wanted to continue to do this, and if so, would we pick Monday night at 5 o'clock at Veterans Park? So we did. And as you can see on this slide, it's to my left, at Veterans Park, we're literally like a free catering company. We show up with homemade, made with love, fresh, prepared food. If it's not good enough for us, it's not good enough for our guests. And when we pull up, so many of them will literally run to the van and help us unload. There is so much gratitude with this population that they are, in our opinion, the most loving, kind, and compassionate people. Sure, they do things that we don't understand, but I don't know how many of us have been in such a survival mode either. For example, there's a guy, Dennis, who had been chronically homeless for 38 years. He was finally housed and has since, it's been the last couple of years, and since then he has gotten off all substances, and he comes dedicatedly every Monday and helps us serve. And the pride and joy on his face and the hugs that he receives and gives is just, it's like throughout the week, if I'm feeling kind of like, I don't know, sorry for myself, I guess, for whatever reason, those Monday nights with those guests and their response to the circumstances that they're in is just inspiring as all get out. It's kind of funny because I'm staring at this screen or at the slides. Emily, are we just staying on this slide for right now, and then we're going into the...
Well, I was going to get into some of the logistics after this. I mean, this is the...
Okay, we'll go back up then. And because you're the only person I can see, Emily, just cut me off when you think I've talked too much. Can't see my clock either. Sorry. When we started, we were serving like 45 meals a week, and we didn't know even how we were going to do that. And now, as Emily will get into the numbers, it's well over 45 meals a week. We are close to 400, 450 at times. Mm-hmm. And the volunteers that come to prepare these meals, it is like nothing we could ever have imagined. So many people, they'll come for hours. We serve we call it our family lunch, and every day, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, regardless of what's going on, we all sit down and we have a really good lunch together and take a break, get to know each other a little bit more. There's so much to a food that it's not just the people that we serve, it also serves the people that serve the people that we serve. And like we said, we have no questions. There's no sign up. It doesn't matter to us why a person needs a meal. There's a million reasons, and it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with finance. If when Emily gets into our meal sites, if there's anybody that knows somebody that could use a meal, but you don't have time, please stop by and grab meals and take them to people that you care about, that you know could use a meal. There's a gal in Northport that has been receiving meals from Bethany Lutheran, and she's written us a couple times thanking us because she was literally starving to death. She didn't have the means or the way to get to food or to make it. And since our program has come along, she's gained 17 pounds, and she's got some new hope on life. And if just one person experienced that, we would feel that we've done our job. I don't know what, I just want to just encourage any of you that are listening and or know anything about Five Loaves to please continue to stay aware of what we're doing. If you feel it on your heart to help in any way, time, talent, and treasure, all three of those, one of those, a little bit of any of those is extremely helpful. We need all three. And without the community, we can't do what we do. So we really, really appreciate you wanting to hear from us.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right. So again, thank you for that wonderful introduction. As Michelle said, we couldn't have done it better ourselves. You covered a lot. And I know this group recently heard from Food Rescue and has received information about the ALICE statistics in the area. So I do have some information on that, but I'll go a little bit quickly through those slides. And hello to our past, present, and future volunteers that I see on the screen there. It's nice to see you all. So on this slide, I put up our mission statement, and what Michelle's talking about really encapsulates it. We provide nourishing meals to people experiencing food insecurity. Again, we use a very broad definition of food insecurity. You might be food insecure because you have all the money in the world, but physically cannot move. You might be food insecure because you had to stay home with a sick child and missed a paycheck, right? It could be a number of reasons. Our goal is to feed the people that need to be fed. In 2022, we had our incredible volunteers log over 5,000 hours, and we served over 10,000 meals at 5 different locations throughout Leelanau and Grand Traverse County. Right now, we're averaging 350 meals per week this year, but as Michelle said, it's trending up toward 450 recently, and we've served over 13,000 meals to date. So again, the population we serve, primarily those folks experiencing homelessness in Grand Traverse and Leelanau County. I'm putting up here the ALICE stats that we have, as well as the free and reduced lunch programs in some of the Leelanau County areas. We find that a lot of the families we're feeding fall into this category. And so we've had, luckily for us, our 2 meal sites at Northport and in Suttons Bay are very close to the schools. And we find that's a really nice collaboration and partnership because unfortunately, a lot of those kids need our help. I wanted to give a great shout out to our partners. We have a wonderful, wonderful network here in these communities. We partner closely with Goodwill Northern Michigan, the Coalition to End Homelessness. Leland Community United Methodist Church is our home and one of our partners from the very beginning. We're a member of the Northwest Food Coalition, and therefore we receive food from Food Rescue. So right now we send prepared meals to go to many different locations. This is a very unique program compared to what we do in Traverse City on Monday evenings. On Monday nights, we serve at Veterans Memorial Park during the summer. And then when Safe Harbor opens, we're at both the park and at Safe Harbor. Those are, for the most part, a line served meal. Now in the winter, we serve prepackaged to-go meals at Veterans Park because we're also at Safe Harbor. But at our meal sites, everything is prepackaged to go. Think of something that you would get takeout from a restaurant, you know, a little container with the top on it, or a little clamshell container. We send meals to Leelanau Christian Neighbors. We send meals to the Empire Area Food Pantry and the Lake Ann United Methodist Food Pantry. So those meals are available while people are going through and shopping at the food pantries. Separately, we established 2 of our own meal sites, knowing that there was a need in Suttons Bay and Northport. So we have a volunteer-run meal site at the Friendship Community Center. And then we also partnered with Bethany Lutheran of Northport. So they have their members of their congregation at the meal site while we provide the food. So how you can help. As Michelle stated, there are many, many ways you can help. The number one way is awareness. So I think this group does an incredible job of staying aware of a lot of these issues in our counties, but it's easy to fall inside a bubble here, right? If you're not looking, if you don't keep your eyes open, you're never going to know. And we have so many new volunteers who come in and say, well, I'm happy to be here, but tell me why is this needed? And so a big part of our job is education, why we're doing what we're doing, why it's necessary. So our big ask is awareness. Other ways to help: homemade meals. We're happy to receive meals or desserts that you've prepared at home and want to drop off to us, or of course, come cook with us in the kitchen. Donating fresh or frozen food, as long as it's not expired, is always welcome. Of course, monetary donations are always welcome as well. We recently established an endowment fund via the Grand Traverse Regional Community Foundation. So that was a big step for us and helps preserve our organization for years to come. Time. We need people to serve our food, make our food, assemble it, organize, clean up. We're always looking for people to help out. Our volunteers really are the bedrock of our organization. They are how we get done what we get done. You know, without them, we wouldn't be here. So I posted up on this slide our current volunteer hours and opportunities if ever anybody is interested in joining us. We have meal prep hours in the kitchen, and we also have serving hours in Traverse City and in Suttons Bay. And I'm putting up my contact information here too. And before I wrap up, I did want to say regarding the awareness piece, Michelle, if you wouldn't mind talking briefly about the event on Wednesday night, the walk.
There is an annual homeless walk at 5:30. It starts at the library, and Ryan Hannon will be doing. It'll be a very informative go, and then everybody will march through downtown. It's very moving. If anybody can go and would like to go, I encourage you to go. It's a great way to, like Emily said, awareness. There's a great amount of information that will be hold out. Plus, you'll feel it. It will be emotional. So bring Kleenex. These people are so deserving of so much better, and we, I think, as a community, can at least offer them compassion and kindness. If we can't solve these problems, we can certainly, one starfish at a time, love on them. So that'd be a great way to start.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all for our presentation, and we're open to questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily and Michelle. We really admire what you do, and that's why we wanted to hear from you today. And I'm sure you might be getting some goodies back for for doing this. So if you stop sharing, does anybody have anything they want to ask? Let me see. Do we see anything in the chat? Nope, I don't. I think everyone is just so amazed with what you do. Oh,
I'm
here's
late.
John Hunter. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to ask. I just would like to apologize for so woefully understating how many meals that you guys have provided. I had the 8,000 number, and the fact you're up to 13,000 is just simply amazing. So thank you all for what you're doing.
Of course.
And my question is, how do you decide what to make? You say people can bring prepared meals, but what was the process of, figuring out the menu?
Well, this is the fun part. This is where we get creative, and where some of our volunteers get to shine and get to kind of glower at me when I walk into the kitchen and say, here, we have 20 pounds of ground beef and elbow macaroni noodles, do something with it. So as I said, we receive food from many different sources. The food rescue truck, we receive purchased food from the Food Coalition. We receive donations from many wonderful, wonderful farms around the area, and from grocery stores and lots of different places. So it's a collaborative effort. Michelle and I and our operations assistant, Caleb, sit down and we try to plan in advance what to make, knowing what we have in our freezer and our pantry. And then we have to pivot and be quite flexible when we get in a donation of, 80 pounds of zucchini, right? So it's a constant evolution. I'm looking at our meal planning schedule. I have it all out in Excel weeks in advance. I'm looking at our meal planning schedule daily, hourly, hopefully not every minute, but that's the creative part of our job, and it's wonderful.
We call it the food highway, and every Monday when Food Rescue pulls up and gives us a tremendous amount of food, that's when the pivots begin, and it's fun. We have several volunteers that maybe had a dream to have a restaurant. Well, this is a great way to have that restaurant vibe without any of the headaches. We have a good time. We listen to music. We laugh a lot, and like Emily said, you can come for the whole day, or you can come for a half hour. Whatever works for you. However, being a part of serving the most underserved population you feel driven to, we would appreciate it very much.
And in terms of anybody wishing to donate food, we're open to anything. We always need the staples: flour, sugar, eggs,
Sure.
fresh fruit. We're coming into the lean season for some of those leafy greens and things of that nature. So we do end up spending a bit more of our money on produce during the winter. We have an abundance of potatoes and squash, but we can only serve potatoes and squash in so many ways. So anything is welcome. We love homemade desserts, cookies. We use them up all the time. And I will post in the chat box my email address as well as our website address.
Also, Emily, Jill Wellman will send out notes about this meeting, and it is being recorded. We'll send it out to all of our members. And Jill's notes will have all of this in it. So don't feel like you need to write everything down, everybody on the call, because you'll be getting it in an email.
Maureen.
Hi, Emily and Michelle. I just wanted to indicate what Emily just said. When you come in, she'll just say, okay, I'll go up to her and ask, what do you need? She's, well, we're going to make hot chocolate today. So it's a huge gallon. One time she asked me to make potato salad sauce. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I've never made that before because John usually makes it. So I made it and it did taste good. So anyways, there's a huge need, and it's everybody who works there, volunteers there, is wonderful. So I can't say any more about it. It's just a great organization.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, rascals. I know everyone's inspired, but we need to get back onto business here. So we just saw these wonderful folks, and now we have Callie Barr. Callie, are you there?
There, I'm here. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me this morning. I've been able to speak with some of you, and some of you I know I've been able to talk to on the phone. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Callie, and I'm running for Congress here in Michigan's 1st Congressional District, which I get to be very Michigander when I describe it, because it's the entire Upper Peninsula and then the top third of the Mitten. So we're the largest district east of the Mississippi River. And I'm, working to unseat Jack Bergman, who's a retired lieutenant general, who is actually one of the highest ranking former service members to serve in U.S. Congress, and, who actively worked to undermine our democracy. He didn't want to certify our elections. He didn't want to investigate January 6th. And that's a real problem. I grew up in this district, Traverse City and Sheboygan. My family goes back about 5 generations in the Sheboygan area. At 18, I married my high school sweetheart, who's also from Sheboygan. September 11th, he wanted to join the Marine Corps and fight for his country. And that, was a choice that really changed the course of our lives. We lived all over the country. I got my teaching degree from Central Michigan. My husband fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, and when he came home, he struggled with post-traumatic stress and a traumatic brain injury. And I became very involved in advocating for families like ours, working class, enlisted military families that really struggled to have voice and to get the help that they needed. That work led me to get my law degree. Later in life, I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old little girls, and say that I single-handedly kept goldfish and fruit snacks in business for 3 years. But graduated from University of Michigan, and then I worked several years as a litigation attorney and helped build a platform to give veterans free legal services. And then during this time, of course, we've had the increasing polarization in our politics. And to my husband and I, we really felt like January 6th was another September 11th. And it was another call to action. And, if we allow for the continual chipping away at the foundation of our democracy, then we'll no longer have it. And if we decide we can't work together, then we won't. And so for us, we are very much concerned with building relationships, and so that we can see each other as Americans again, first and foremost, and as neighbors. And so protecting our democracy, today's Veterans Day. And, when I think about Veterans Day, we think a lot about not only upholding our democracy, but maintaining the promises of that democracy. The freedom to live our lives the way we want to live them, free from government interference, love who you want to love, pray how you pray, live how you want to live. And right now, with our technological advancements that we have, it's really important that in maintaining our freedoms, we're considering this new world we live in with data privacy and artificial intelligence and how we compensate our news systems, because in many ways they contribute and create division. We also really need to protect our middle class. And, we have right now a labor movement that's energized, and we need to support that. We're at the greatest period of income inequality since the 1920s. So we have folks that can't afford to eat, as we've been hearing, with 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we have other folks that take private trips to outer space. And that demands a reset. And so as we support our labor unions and kind of hold hands there, especially as we move towards clean energy, and we also need to really make sure we're looking at healthcare accessibility and affordability, Medicare, Social Security, those social safety nets are maintained. And we need a future for our kids. So clean air, clean water, support public education and early childhood education. I hear all over the district folks who really need childcare. It's hard when you want to go to work, but childcare is triple the cost of your mortgage. So I am really excited about this race. Jack Bergman is vulnerable. He's had some terrible votes, even presenting himself as a veterans champion. He supports the Tommy Tuberville blockade of military promotions. He's voted against the infrastructure and internet in our district. Just a couple days ago, he texted that he was very proud of himself for trying to defund the office of the vice president, even while we have a looming government shutdown. So he's not showing up for us. And in this race, I was in Washington, D.C. just last month, really putting this race back on the map for our national partners. And they were really excited about what we're doing here. Because I'll tell you, here in Michigan's First, we have real opportunity. And it's not just for this congressional race, it's to support a presidential and Senate race in a time when it absolutely matters, when we're at an inflection point in our democracy and we need to get out every vote. So we have the cheapest media markets in this entire state. And so we can get out that vote for a cheaper cost than they can anywhere else. And so your money goes a lot further here. And so that's important when we're looking at, our broad outreach on a congressional level. We've had, early endorsements in our race, New Politics. They support candidates who want to protect democracy. They're national and bipartisan. We also have My List and the Michigan Democratic Party Veteran Caucus. And one of our biggest labor unions here, IBEW, has given us financial support, which means a lot. So we're raising money and continuing to really work hard here. If you have questions for me, please feel free to reach out at any time. I'll put my website and contact information in the chat here when I'm done speaking. I'm always happy to talk and discuss, any issues or things that are close to your heart. And also just want to let you know, if you're able to contribute financially to us, it helps a lot. It helps us plan out how we're going to reach voters, get on TV, radio, and it also becomes a viability point when we meet with other people and tell them that we're serious here in the First District. Bergman's already watching us, and we know that he's threatened. And if you're able to host a meet and greet, that's great too. I always love being able to come out there, no pressure, meet for coffee, be introduced to folks that so we can tell them what we're doing and why it matters here. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. Thank you for letting me come and speak with you. And thanks to Five Loaves, Two Fish. That was such an awesome presentation. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Callie. Thank you for running. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And well, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of you soon. Okay, folks. We're going to go right now to this really fun story from a guy that used to hang out with my kids in Lake Orion, Michigan. So Nate, are you here?
I am.
All right, I'm going to stop my screen share really quick so we can just see your face. And Nate, so when I was talking to you about what was going on in your life, you came up with this wonderful story about what made you become active in your community. And so I'd just like you to share that with folks.
Sure. Hi, team. It's wonderful to meet you all. My name is Nate Butke, joining you from Oakland County, Michigan, Lake Orion or Orion Township. I'm actually sitting in the Orion Township Public Library in the Michigan History Room here in the back corner of the library, which is a cool place to hang out. So if you're ever downstate and you're on Lake Orion and you want to see some really cool pieces of history, hit me up and we'll cruise around the library and check out some of the cool stuff hanging out in here. When I had the chance to talk with Sam, we were catching up, and she was asking, how are you personally finding that yourself going from being in the community, from being on boards, or encouraging other people, or getting people kind of from that moment of being a contributor to being in a board. And she offered and invited me to come and share a little bit of storytelling with you all today on it. So I'll be rather brief, but it's been interesting in my own journey. I've been on our local school board and am currently a public library trustee here. Never would have thought that I'd do either of those things. But there's a consistent pattern that shows up. And Carrie, as you were describing your story, I was actually thinking of it. It might fit one of these profiles. There's times for me personally and for others who have gone from being involved to being on boards, there's times where it's about stopping things that are going backward and how do you get involved to interject when things are going the wrong way. There's times where things are going okay and the challenge is to keep them going good. And then there's certain times where things are going okay, but there's threat and there's opportunity to see them go in the wrong direction rather quickly. And in the case of the library, for me, it was that third one. We have an amazing library. Things are going really good. And there was a person, a trustee who resigned midterm just for personal reasons. So there was a vacancy in it. And I was reading about it in our local paper, and rarely is it like a perfect time where people are just sitting around with extra time on their hands and extra money, and they say, "I want to run for something." That doesn't really happen often, unless maybe you're on the extreme wealth side of things. And in this one, I was reading the paper, and I said, "Oh boy, this library vacancy is open. Really don't have the time for it." But in this area, and in most areas, it's also a time where you see a lot more pressure on libraries for book banning, for limiting access to information, from reducing what libraries are built to do. And you combine that with where we are as a society where truth is elusive, and there are fewer and fewer points where people have a space to intersect with each other. And there's really fascinating data when you see when people are talking to each other, we're a lot less different and a lot less disagreeable. And libraries have that spot where, one, they need to protect information and access for information, and can also increase their profile as places of common intersect. How do we create more opportunities for people who probably see themselves as vastly different, but when they start to talk, you discover that there's more commonality than difference. So for my motivation, it was in that third one. How do we prevent our library from backsliding? And how do you avoid having the seat turn into someone who's not kind of consistent with that forward-looking mission on it? And yeah, you add to that, as I was reading the paper and looking at it, I kept thinking to myself, my dad was an educator. He passed away 17 years ago. Just an amazing guy, real cool person to be able to be the son of a person like this. And his he's buried. He actually, there's a cemetery right next to the library, and he's buried right next to the library. And I was reading the paper, and I'm like, man, I don't have the time for this, but boy, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow and some book banner ended up on the library board, I saw my dad. He was like, dude, what was that about? Why didn't you step up in that spot? I didn't want to have that happen. So there was the chance to join and share that story when I was going through the interview process and was selected to join the board here. And I think it's really important when we look at groups of like you all, and we look at the pipeline of people who are willing and able and have that motivation to think about kind of what season is going on in the boards around you, not only the top levels of government, but also the local boards, and being able to be very thoughtful about what season are they in. Do those boards have a composition that is more tuned into having to fix things to stop going backwards? Are they in a composition that keeps things going, or is there risk? Like we could quickly see this turn. And we saw those dynamics play out also on our school board. We had a period of time where it was a 5-2 conservative school board that happened to coincide with 16 years of failing at the ballot box for public school funding. And in one election cycle, we were able to move it from 5-2 the other direction on it. And so it can happen quickly, but it can happen quickly both in the positive and in the negative direction. And there's a very active conversation down here where we're always looking at the pipeline of who is ready and who might be willing and able to step up, because you kind of have to match the person to the season. There are certain people who are better in that first category of stopping things from going backwards, certain people who are better at keeping things going, and certain people who are better at playing a little bit of defense on it. So paying attention to all those things and trying to make it easy and interesting for people to get involved.
Wow. Thanks so much, Nathan. Lake Orion Library is very, very lucky to have you, and continue.
Oh, they're amazing. I'm just trying to not screw up what they got going and play a little defense for them.
Yeah. Well, you know, and we have a lot of folks on the call who are on boards. So everybody on the call, just raise your hand if you're already on a board in your area. So I just want you to see, we
Love
definitely
it.
have some
Keep
workers.
it going.
We want to
Keep it
figure out
going.
how to
Keep
get
that
more.
succession going.
Okay, thanks so much, Nate. Next, we're going to hear from another really amazing guy, and that is Mike Radke. Welcome, Mike.
Yes. Hi, everybody. God, this is inspiring to sit in on your meeting. What great people you've got going here. It's really something very impressive. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about an opportunity to do something different. Okay. As I have been informed repeatedly by Illinois Indivisible and others all throughout this Northwest Michigan area, political polarization is alive and well in the area. Okay. You know, it's the urban rural polarization, you know, businesses,
Russ.
farming, tourism.
Russ, come. There's no reason for you to be outside. No, 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 no.
Hello, somebody's got to
Everybody needs to mute themselves.
mute
Yeah.
themselves, please.
You
Okay.
crazy lady.
Guns.
Come on.
It's Beth Childs.
Okay.
You're great.
All right, I got it. Thank
Okay,
you.
great. You know, I mean, the issues are there too. So guns, women's rights, school curriculum, libraries, as Nate just said, you know, housing, food insecurity, you know, racism, it goes on and on. The polarization over the issues, particularly political polarization, is alive and well. At the same time, there's a lot of good things going on, okay? And it's not well known. So it's not as bad as you think. The people on the other side are not as bad as you think. And by the way, you are not as bad as they think, okay? Both Dems and Republicans, there's a tremendous amount of literature that suggests that basically both sides believe that at least 55% of them, whichever side them is, are extremists, when in fact it's only 30%, okay, or less. That means there's 70% of the people on the other side who are reasonable, trying to do the right thing, just good people, okay? And that gap gets wider based on a number of factors. And I would like you to kind of think about yourself. Is this group more educated than average? Are you more politically aware than average? Do you listen to the news more than average? Do you participate in political discussions on social media? Each one of those factors makes it easier for you to be to have the impression that they, on the other side, are more extreme, when in fact that's not true. Okay. So the 21,600 voters in Leelanau County, it doesn't take a whole lot to swing the vote. Okay. But we are the old ways of moving the needle don't necessarily work anymore. Giving more information, going door to door, it works to get the vote out, but frequently it doesn't convince anybody to change their vote. Okay. Braver Angels addresses the polarization in a different way. Okay. One of the ways the literature now, the science of communities tells us that the way to make a difference is by connecting to people who are different. Okay. By seeing the humanity in people on the other side and letting them see that you're human too. Essentially, we really have to build a relationship before you can start looking for common ground. After you've got a relationship, then people are much more likely to explore options and come up with some creative solutions. So their willingness to make progress and find a different way to solve a problem will change if they have a relationship. And that's kind of what Braver Angels does. So we run workshops, both virtually and face-to-face, to help people connect with each other. We have a red-blue workshop, ran one here a year and a half or so ago, got national press. CBS News did a Sunday morning segment on the success we had with that. There's a whole series of options to run a workshop. What it requires, though, is an organization like Leland Indivisible identifying people from both sides to come to a meeting and get to know each other. And we have a great national reputation, have run 4,000 workshops across the nation with a growing possibilities of more. And these workshops basically have been very successful in getting people to connect with each other and then begin to explore options to address some of the issues that are present locally. So two things are needed. Number one, we need an organization to take the lead, be willing to set up some meetings to have these kind of interchanges with people from both sides. And secondly, we need some help in getting both sides to the table. And so that's kind of my pitch to you. I'm willing to help set up. We actually now have 3 people locally who will facilitate these workshops. And I think this is an opportunity that has been untapped in the past. So I'm open to questions. Be happy to help you in any way I can. Sam?
Well, you know why I have you here, because I definitely want to start this in our county. And I'm hoping that we can get at least 5 conservatives, 5 moderate conservatives, 5 moderate liberals to start off. And I already have spots where we can have the meeting and just get the ball rolling. So Marion has her hand up. So Marion, what did you want to say? You're on mute, hon.
I'm intrigued. I've not heard of your organization before. I'm also a trained mediator, so I kind of can relate. But with regard, Committee's Just Peace, we're holding this event on Wednesday, and pretty much giving, kind of one information that isn't in the regular press. But there clearly are different points of view on this topic, and clearly it's an international topic. U.S. foreign policy. Are those too high up of issues that Braver Angels tackle? If we could find folks who want to talk in a secure, safe spot?
Yes, we do that routinely. Okay, I mean we've taken on issues of abortion, gun rights. I mean, what is an issue that's divisive in this community that is that people are willing to talk about? And so, Marion, I'd love to have some conversations with you because I think there's some real opportunities in our community to address this the issue that you have on the table.
Okay, we'll be in touch.
Great.
Okay, anybody see anything else in the chat? I don't see anything in the chat. Does anybody raised a hand? I don't see that. Well, Mike, I will be getting back with you. I will personally be looking for people and everybody on the call. If you know which group I'll have easy time with, but the group I'll have a harder time with, I need those names. So if you know names, please shoot them to me and we'll try to get this going. I was thinking January. We're going to try to get it going in January.